Hello everyone, it's Sheila back again with another tutorial. I'm going to show how to do the shaping on a sleeve, and this is a little bit knitting I've been using for the tutorials when I showed how to do the rib and how to increase the stitches across the rib. And now I'm going to show how to do the shaping on the sides of the sleeve. I've already done a couple of shaping, and you will see there's one down here and a different way up here, which actually blends in better, but it's the preferred, what people prefer, which one. So I'm going to show you how to do both of these shapings. So I'm going to start off with this one here, one down the bottom of the sleeve. So for this one, you're going to knit the first 2 stitches. Only the second stitch you're going to knit into the front of it, yarn over the needle, bring it through, but don't take it off the needle. Go into the back of the stitch like that and knit into the back of that stitch, and that's your first shaping on that side of the sleeve, the extra stitch. And you'll knit a couple of stitches, and if you see, it's the 3rd stitch in where you knitted the first stitch, and that's the stitch that you knitted that stitch into, so that makes the 3rd stitch. And I'll knit across the row and show you at the other side. And I'll pause it until I get across, and I'm up to the end, and on this end we knit to the last 3 stitches. At the start we knitted 2 stitches and knitted that extra stitch into that second stitch, but on the end you knit into the 3rd stitch from the end, yarn over, pull it through, don't take it off, go into the back of that stitch and knit that stitch, and there you have that extra stitch. Then you knit the last 2 stitches on the needle, and the reason we do the stitch on the 3rd stitch from the last is because when you do the extra stitch at the start, that extra stitch comes after the 2nd stitch. So when you do it on the 3rd stitch from the end, that stitch comes after, so it makes it 2 stitches after the extra stitch at the start and 2 stitches after the stitch at the beginning, to keep those even, the stitches even on each side and in the same place. And that's why you do the 3 at the end. And now I'll knit a few rows and I'll show you how to do the other shaping. Right, I've knitted a few rows and I'm now going to show you how to do this increase. We need a few rows in between each to make them stand out better. So this one is, you knit the first 2 stitches, and then if you look between that stitch and that stitch, you have a little bar between the stitches. You take that stitch, put it onto the needle and knit into the back of it. So you're knitting into the back of that stitch. Well, it's not a stitch, it's the bar between the stitches. That's what I call it, a bar. Then you knit, and then you knit. and I have to knit across the row to the other side, so I'll pause that until I do. And I'm coming up now to the last few stitches, so I'm going to knit to the last 2 stitches. And once again, you take that bar between the 2 stitches, put it on the left hand needle, and again you knit into the back of that stitch. And there we have another increase on the other end. And as you can see, that increase is not as noticeable as that increase. But I always use that increase because that one is easier to see. If you're like me and you forget how many rows you've knitted between increases, that one, and that one is more difficult to see. But it is, I would say it is neater because it does blend in with the rest of the stitches. So it's your own choice, whichever one you want to do. And some people do this one here, they do it on the very edge of the stitch, the first stitch. But when you do it on that first stitch, you tend to get little lumps on the end of your knitting. That's why it's best to do it 2 stitches in, where you get a straighter edge down the side. And that's my little bit of tutorial for today. And the next tutorial, I'm going to show how to do the raglan shape, and I'll use the same piece as though I've been doing a sleeve, and I'll show you how to do the shaping from the cast on and how many stitches you do to do the raglan in, like that. And that's my little tutorial for today. So if you like what you've seen and would like to see more, thumbs up and subscribe.